All right, welcome to Bayou Time, post-Christmas. And we thought today, of course we made the rounds with police and all that. It was pretty quiet. It was good to hear around Christmas time. State Police did have some trouble on the roads, and we'll talk more about that in a later segment. But Mr. Mike Sobert is joining us now with Waterworks, and of course, he is the general manager over there. Does a great job with Waterworks. You've seen him on our program many times, and a lot of people have been asking, well, Martin, what's the water advisory? And well, we brought the man in himself to explain that so I don't have to tell you what it is because I really don't know.
Well, first of all, thank you, Martin. I just want to know I send a check to the same place for saying nice things about me. Okay, good.
Well, you do.
Pleasure to be here.
Well,
always.
You're in one of those positions that people are going to love you 364 days out the year, but the one big time, but y'all excelled so much during Ida. Y'all had so much to overcome. And I'll say it to anybody who'll listen, y'all did a great job.
Thank you.
You're never going to be perfect.
A lot of good people. A lot of good people working.
Never going to be perfect in these situations. But we were talking off camera, and you brought up a very interesting tidbit of data from, I guess I was 29 years old, 1989, that freeze that hit Houma was much worse than this one.
Much worse. Much worse.
Sustained, about 18 degrees?
Oh, yeah, 3 or 4 days. And at the ice plant, I was at Butte Ice in those days. We had these big, heavy-duty industrial 2-cylinders compressors. The water jacket was about that thick and cracked all of them. Just split every one of them down the middle. Because we didn't know. I mean, you left water in it, and it froze, and it froze, and it froze, and it froze.
Right.
So that much worse. Very colder and lasted longer.
So we're on the tail end of this freeze, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to come on because people's pipes, some of them were bursting. How many calls did y'all get?
We've gotten over 200 calls since it started.
And you're supposed to be off today.
Oh yeah, today's a holiday for
working.
Waterworks. Same way it was Saturday. That was a holiday too. We work.
Yeah.
Same way Friday, as a matter of fact. But anyway, we good. We have about 35 employees that gave up their day off and came in to help out and try and help customers turn their water off. We fixed main lines. I think we had 12 main line breaks Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So those have all been fixed in various parts of the parish, and that's all done and it's back. And, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, because especially here at HTV, we shut the water down before the freeze, and we drained all the way to the furthest pipe that we could get to. But you were making an interesting point before the show. You said some people that have curves in their pipe or maybe underground or their houses are built off the ground.
Sure, yeah.
And they have curves in it. The water sits there, the water freezes, and it expands, and that's where it's going to break. Huh?
That's correct. Yes, sir. When y'all were kind enough to have me on last week, right before the freeze, and I tried to bring that up. What needs to be done if you're off the ground is really put you some kind of mechanism. First of all, you can wrap all your pipes. You can put hot boxes. In other words, they make a electrical wire that you wrap around very low voltage with enough heat to keep the water from freezing. You can do all that. Man, most of us ain't doing that. Right. I promise you.
Right.
So what happens is if you turn the water off, as soon as you turn the water off, you have no pressure, right? Mm-hmm. So how you going to get the rest of the water out the pipe?
Right.
It's not going to flow out. So what you do is you go to the furthest spot or the closest spot and open the furthest spot, maybe a air tank or something like that. It doesn't take much just to blow the water out.
Right.
Then you'll be all right. You never have to worry about it. But again, once every 10, 15 years you do this.
Right.
Is it worth it? It depends if you broke the pipes the last time. There'll be a lot of people out there making corrections next week and this week that didn't do it before, I'm sure.
And I'm sure you've seen it over the years. People go, well, I got extra thick galvanized pipe. I don't care what you have. It can break.
Remember that 2-inch thick casting? It broke. And it'll break. It'll break any pipe you got. Now, PEX, this newer kind of pipe, is supposed to be good for 5 times its expansion. But if the pipe freezes, you still can't get any water.
Right.
So you're either laying under your house or going to your house with a hairdryer trying to thaw it out so the water can flow. I don't think, to my knowledge, we've ever broken one of our main water lines underground from a freeze. You know, when they come up,
Right.
89 they broke some, 89 they broke some, Bayou Crossing. But as long as the water, which for us is always moving, we don't seem to have a problem.
I was curious because I came in, I have those big old, there must be 8-inch for the fire, you know, for the fire lines in here. Comes out from under the ground into the building. But like you said, it's not going to freeze under the ground. But when it gets in the building, we're insulated. But well, if one of those were to break,
Oh, yeah,
Wow.
you'd be swimming in there.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. I mean, the system will handle it. It's not a problem.
Right.
I think we had about 8 or 10 calls for backflow preventers, which is what you're talking about for your fire line, just along Martin Luther King that broke. People didn't take care of business. You know, PetSmart and about Walk-Ons and the strip mall and a little further up. And those are big lines because they're for fire and they have no meter on them. A fire backflow preventer basically is like a check valve. So the water goes in and then it stops. So it
Right.
just sits there
Right.
and waits. And while it's sitting there waiting, it's also freezing and cracking the pipe. Then when the water thaws, it's over.
how do you prep? I mean, water. I know there's certain chemicals you put in it, you know, coming from to make it drinkable. But how do y'all go through the process of deeming it undrinkable or uncookable or the boil?
Okay. So we have, it's called the State Sanitary Code, which is the law for public water utilities. And it says, for example, in this case, anytime the pressure drops below 20 pounds in the water line, you have to call a boil water. And the theory is that as long as you have 20 pounds of positive pressure inside the pipe, if the pipe breaks, the water leaking out will keep any bad stuff from coming in.
Okay.
Okay, so
Gotcha.
that should make sense to everybody.
Yep.
It's pushing out, pushing away, and we have leaks all the time. And I mean, we can pump a lot of water. It's unfortunate, but in this freeze, as much water as we could pump, we still couldn't get the pressure up. And so what happened is, in certain places in the parish, the water dropped below 20 pounds. So we have to call a boil water. Well, when the first part went, it got so bad we didn't know where it was going to end. We call a boil water all the way. So that is strictly a public safety type of issue, and we don't hesitate 1 second to pull the trigger and say, do it. So what will happen is there's some other things that have to, like the turbidity has to be right and all. We have our own certified lab. Those guys tomorrow, our lab people, again, will go out tomorrow and start sampling every place where we have the boil water in effect right now, and take the samples. And then it takes you 18 hours of an incubation period to, you know, Petri dish, see if it grows, what's there. And then when they give me the okay, then we'll lift the boil water.
Let's bring this graphic up. You brought us a pic. Can you explain this to us?
Sure. So everything that's in green is the part of Terrebonne Parish that will not be under and has never been under a boil water advisory. Those portions that are red, kind of up to the top left corners in the Gibson, Deadwood area, and then of course to the bottom right is the perennials, Pointe-Cham, Montague-Berg, and all the way into Dulac. That slice on the bottom to your left is by Delorge. We were able to keep the pressure up there. So we have a SCADA system that continuously monitors pressure and residuals and a whole lot of things throughout the parish. So when we came in this morning, we looked, and we were able to ascertain that in the green area, the pressure never went below 20 pounds. So again, out of an abundance of caution, we call the boil water, now we're taking it off. Because I know that, we can prove that, and the people in the water in that area is safe to drink. We're gonna wait tonight and let the pressure stabilize. Everybody pretty much has pressure at or above the 20 pounds. But we got a lot of empty tanks and still a lot of broken lines, I think. And tomorrow, if we get where we need to be, then we'll start sampling, and then the day after on the 28th.
Now, if you're
we'll be
watching
able to-
this on Tuesday morning, he's recording on Monday afternoon, and we play our shows on a 24-hour cycle. So keep
Gotcha.
that in mind. But
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because as I'm brushing my teeth this morning and I'm using the water, I caught myself after. I said, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
Mike and them got a boil of water." So I'm in this green
You'll
area.
live. You'll live. You're in good shape. You're in good shape.
So what? I guess the uneducated question, because I'm curious, what does it allow to come into the system? Is it just bacteria?
Well, see, that's it. I mean, we have found places where you have a sewage line that's sitting right on top or right under our water line. That's not good.
Right.
You know, E. coli and fecal bacteria, that's what makes you sick.
Right.
There's a lot of bad stuff in the ground, particularly here where basically most of us is below sea level. You got on a cocodrie, you can't find the line. They're all underwater.
And so once it's in the water table, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so if you don't keep that 20-pound of pressure, then the head pressure or the static pressure from the outside in invades the water system. We don't know it until somebody gets sick.
That makes a lot of sense now, because, you know, a lot of people watching, including myself, are wondering, but when all those pipes are together, they could be 2 feet apart, but if they're sitting in the same water.
That's exactly right. And so if you have a conflict between, let's say, a water line and a sewer line, they make you encase. In other words, they make you put the sewer line or the water line in another pipe and stretch it out a lot further, 20 feet on each side, just to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I mean, it happens. You know, in the city of Houma, we got pipes been there maybe 100 years.
Right.
Well, so are the sewer lines.
Yeah.
You know, so
Do they
it's,
still have
it's that
some of
kind
those old asbestos pipes still
the
buried?
clay terracotta
Clay,
pipe,
yeah.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I have it at my house. Until
Unless it's disturbed, it's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's
but I mean,
fine.
sometimes when you're digging old buildings up,
Yeah.
I've seen
You've seen it.
you come up with a bunch of that clay.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
what it is.
And they've been condemned, but what gets me, sometimes they're 3 feet under anything else, so a lot of land's been built up.
Well, and for sewage up until relatively recently, it's all gravity fed.
Right. We were sitting there talking in our house for Christmas, and everybody has a different idea of what a pencil is when you're letting your water run. Some are saying, well, is it the size of the lead in the pencil? Is it the pencil itself? I'm showing Mama what to do the other day, and what is it?
Well,
You're
in
the-
our mind,
you're
from
an
the Waterworks
engineer.
standpoint, I use an engineering pencil, but it's this little bitty lead size 7mm pencil that I think is a pencil float,
Yeah.
not the whole barrel of the pencil,
Okay.
not the size of your finger, you know. And the theory is if you run a little bit of water, you keep the water flowing.
Warm or cold?
Well, let's think about that for a second.
Okay.
So if you drain just the cold water, the hot water heater that you have in your house, whether it be a tankless type or tank, is filled with cold water.
Right.
So if you don't run the hot water, because that water that was hot sitting in the pipe that's now cold under the house, guess what's going to happen to it? It's going to freeze
Yeah.
too.
I normally run a little bit of both.
That's
Is
what
that-
we do.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I
So just
run
crack
and
a
it
little
doesn't
bit-
take much. Again,
And just let both of them drip into it till you get that lead
that's
side.
it. Just a little bit, and it goes a long,
How
long
much
way.
does that help y'all when people stay to that lead size as
Oh,
far
it's
as
tremendously. Yeah, I mean, you can't. Just yesterday, I think it got above, or day before it got above freezing. Yesterday, for a little bit of while, we asked, "Hey, could you just go turn the water off for 3 or 4 hours?" I think we shot up and saved like 2 million gallons.
Wow.
Yeah.
People don't realize
We
the
did not.
cumulative
We did
total.
not. We were making probably 27, 28 million gallons of water a day, and we just couldn't get the pressure up. We just couldn't get the pressure up. Our plants run on pressure, so we set it like at 60 pounds, and those pumps will come on and go off until you get to 60 pounds, and it just runs and runs and
Well,
runs.
how much you think is directly related to pipes breaking or people running the water too hard?
Well, our normal average day, let's say in Shreveport, well, let's put them both together. In Shreveport and Houma plant is about 15, 16 million gallons.
Okay.
So we were running 23, 24, 25 million gallons
Okay.
and still couldn't catch up.
Okay.
So between the breaks and whatever, the running water, we were probably losing 10 million gallons.
So that's
We never ran out of water. You know, that was
that's
different
over
than either.
30%
Sure.
increase.
Sure.
What does that do to Waterworks when that? What kind of demand does that put on y'all?
We wide open. Everything
Yeah.
we can make, we fix. I mean, we go on. It's it. But Fortunately, we have excess water. Like I said, we have, I'm forgetting now, 24 in Homer and 8 in Homer. So you have 32 million gallons that you have at your ability. Well, before the hurricane, everything was full. At 3 million in North Terrebonne, 3 million in South Terrebonne, 500,000 in Dumas. You got another tank, 5 million in the tanks. So we had as much there plus 3, 6, 10 million in the ground storage. So we probably had 4 days supply of water.
Well, we take water.
And we couldn't keep up.
We take water for granted.
Sure do.
I'm sitting here talking to you, and every time there's a hurricane, and I'm going, I bet after Ida, not too many people take water, electricity, anything for granted. But when the years roll by,
They forget pretty quick.
They do. They forget. But I guarantee, I promised myself I would not forget because it's devastating,
Oh, yeah.
especially water. The one thing people cannot do without, I found,
Right.
is water.
After air, we're second.
Yeah, well, you're right, air. We need the air. But they can do without Netflix or YouTube. What an older generation can, the younger can't.
Yeah.
They freaking out when they lose it. But if you don't have water, it changes your life.
You're not there. You're not there. Used to go to these meetings 10 so years ago, and, when the hurricanes, we only got so many generators, where you going to put them? So you sit in the room, you wait, and we're going to put them at hospitals and government buildings and sewage plants and water plants, and it was almost inevitable. Water was always at the end of the list. And I always took great pride, actually, in saying, excuse me, but you do realize if you don't have water, you don't have sewer.
Right.
Think about that.
That's right.
If you don't have water, you don't have sewer.
Hospital doesn't have water, they close.
Yes,
They can get generators to
Yes.
run the electric.
yes, yes.
Water's
And
primo.
the big thing about Miss Phyllis and them at the hospital, we tend to think of washing dishes, taking a bath, that kind of stuff. Cooling, air conditioning, all water cooling.
That's right.
All their cancer radioactive equipment is all water cooled. I spent more time at Terrebonne General outside there trying to figure out how to get them water than hopefully I'll ever spend inside that
Now,
hospital.
don't tell
as
me
a
you know how to
patient.
fix the MRI machine.
No. But they definitely need water to keep that place running.
Mike, I want to thank you.
Oh, it's
We got
my
about
pleasure,
a
Mark.
minute
Thank you.
left. I appreciate you coming and taking some time to let the public know. And such a big job y'all have. So once again, we'll close with the map. We got about a minute left. Jen, if we could bring that map up to let people realize it's not a parish-wide boil water.
Not any longer, no, and actually never was. So again, the green area is safe. The water's safe to drink. Go ahead, knock yourself out, do what you got to do. Those few areas are red. To the left top is the Gibson area around Deadwood and all the way down Counter Tower Shell Pump Station. On the right-hand side is basically Pointe-Charles, Berg, Montague, and Chauvin. We have water at all of them. It's just we're trying to get it above 20 and make it whole. And then tomorrow we'll start taking samples and then have the results the day after.
Real quick, yes or no? We got about 10 seconds left. They got to run water tonight. They're asking me on the.
No, sir, there's not a freeze predicted tonight.
All right, so there you have it.
It's above
Mike,
freezing.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it. Mike
Thank you, Mark.
Sobert. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.